Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another music theory lesson. Today, we are going to be working on 5.3 and reviewing how to count rhythms. So before we get started today, I just want to remind you of a couple of things. The first is let's remind ourselves of a couple of different rhythmic values that we've talked about. The first is a quarter note, and if we are in 4/4, 3/4, 2/4 time, that quarter note is going to get one beat. If we have a half note is twice the value of a quarter note, if you think of that as pi. So if we have a quarter, which is right here, that gets one beat. A half is double that, so that gets two beats. If I have a whole, which is a whole pi, that's going to get four beats. A whole note looks just like an oval, like that. And then we have a dotted half note that looks like that. That gets three beats. Okay, remember that dot adds half of the original value, and that's a tricky thing. So if I have a half note equals two beats, half of that is one. So 2 plus 1 is 3 beats. Okay, we also have rests, which are inactive beats. So these are beats that we would sing on. The beats over here on this side are beats that we would like sing on or clap on or something like that. Inactive beats are called rests. We have our quarter rest, which is one beat of rest. We have our half rest, which is, it looks like a top hat like that. We have a whole rest, which looks like a hole in the ground. And then we also can have, we haven't talked a whole lot about this, but you can have a dotted half rest as well, which is a top hat with a little dot on it, okay? Those basic rhythms should get you through today. The one other thing that we need to talk about before we count our rhythms are our time signatures. So our time signatures tell us two things: how many beats are in a measure, how many beats in a measure. And then the other, the bottom number, tells us what note gets the beat. So if we know we have 4 beats, that beat could be a quarter note, it could be a half note, it could be a whole note. If it's a 4, that tells us that it's a quarter note. If it would be a 2, that would be a half note. So the trick for that is you replace the top number with a 1. That gives you a fraction. 1/4 is also called a quarter. So that would mean that the quarter note gets the beat. So whenever we have that number on top, that tells us what number we are going to count to in each measure. So if we have 4 right there, at some point in this measure, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, because we have those rhythms there, we're going to combine some of those and put in some special notes and stuff like that, or like parentheses for rests and things like that, just so we can kind of decipher that even further. So we're going to count to 4 in every measure on this number 1A. So starting us off, we have a half note there. We know that gets 2 beats. So that's going to be a 1-2, since that includes all 2 beats. Then we're going to have 3 and 4 there. And because this is a rest, that gets a parentheses around it. We know that our dotted half note we just talked about gets 3 beats. So 1, 2, 3. That leaves us 1 more beat. And since it's a rest, it's going to get a parentheses around it. We know our top hat is a half rest for 2 beats. So that gets 2 beats just like a half note, but then we have to put our parentheses around it since it's a rest. And our beats 3 and 4 are covered by that half note. Then lastly, we have our whole note, which is 4 full beats. So that takes up an entire measure by itself, okay? We're gonna do one more. We'll do some of these other examples tomorrow, but let's take a look at something that is in a different time signature. So this one is in 3/4, which means there are only 3 beats per measure. So every measure we're going to count to 3 instead of 4, like we did on the last one. So in every measure, you're going to have 1, 2, and 3 somewhere. Okay. The quarter note still gets a beat because a 4 is still on bottom. So we're still counting that quarter note as the beat. So this is going to be 1. That half note gets the rest of the 2 beats. So 2, 3. We don't have a 4th beat because the time signature doesn't have a 4th beat. So now we're going to go 1 in parentheses, 2, 3, 1 in parentheses, 2-3, because beats 2 and 3 are combined by that half note. Then we have 1-2 and 3. Okay. The next thing that you should do on your own, we're not going to do the rhythmic dictation today, But write in 3A and 3B, write a rhythm on your own that adds up to 4 beats in every measure. So don't go over, and you need to write in your rhythm once you're done. So we know that we need 4 beats in every measure. I'll do a couple measures of my own. I'm going to do a half note, which is 2 beats. So that's 1-2. I know I need to count a 3 and a 4. So I'm going to do 2 quarters right there. And we're going to try and use all the rhythms that we know. Then I haven't used a whole rest yet. So I'm going to put a hole in the ground. That's 1-2-3-4, because that gets 4 beats. I put all of that in parentheses. Then I'm going to do a half rest, which is like a top hat, and then 2 quarter rests. So that these 2 measures are not going to have any active beats in it, right? This one was a whole rest right here. This one's going to be written differently, but it's still going to be a full measure of rest. So that's 1-2 in parentheses, 3 in parentheses, and 4 in parentheses. Okay. Keep going and finish 3A and 3B on your own, making sure that it adds up to 4 beats in each measure. That's the key. You have to follow the time signature. Okay, that's all we have today. Be ready for your knowledge check, and it won't be anything more complicated than this, identifying how many beats each note value gets, and then writing in some rhythms or identifying some rhythms within those measures and counting the measures. Okay, have a great day, everybody. We will see you next time.